First question is, why did you choose to participate in this course?
I'm currently an undergraduate in the bioengineering program at the University of Colorado, Denver, right? And I think the main draw for that major for me was just to be able to help people. And I saw this study abroad course as an opportunity to do that to a greater extent. When I saw that the course was coming to Guatemala, I knew very little about the background of the country, but looking into it, I saw that it was one of the areas that I was most interested in terms of economy and social disparities. I think when it comes to countries like this, you can very clearly see that there are people and there are entities who hoard wealth, resources, and that's to the detriment of others, quite often. I don't have an abundance of wealth and I don't have an abundance of resources, but as a student, I do somewhat have a hoard of knowledge, very specific knowledge, what can be very helpful knowledge in terms of health, sanitation, technology, and just well-being. So I wanted to come here and provide that. Where I don't have money, I do have ideas, I do have creativity and imagination, so I wanted to use that to the best of my ability.
Awesome. Scooch this just a teensy bit closer to you.
What was one or two things that, or what were one or two things that were particularly memorable for you from this experience, and why?
I think the first thing is just the general sense of hospitality and kindness and friendliness that you get from the people here, not only in the Trifinio clinic, but also just in the community. I think if you're a student and you're looking to get into this program, some of the information that you get from the school, and rightfully so, is very cautious. You know, be careful, there's crime, there's things like this, you have to be on your toes, which you do. A lot of the times you have to be a cognizant traveler, especially in a community that you know nothing about, especially a community like that. So I was on my toes a little bit at first, but as we traveled more and we got to see more people and do a cooking class in Antigua in a local woman's home, she took us up to her home and taught us how to make food, and it was delicious. And everyone has been in that spirit here, I think, of just being very welcoming to us when they don't have to be, considering some of the history of things that have happened here. So if you're thinking about doing this course and that's something that's holding you back, consider it, it's important, but take it with a grain of salt, because this community is lovely, honestly. And then a second thing would be I want to say the beauty of Guatemala. I mean, I've already talked about the beauty a little bit in terms of people. It's beautiful, the communities, but also naturally speaking, especially coming from Colorado, it's very dry. There aren't many tropical plants unless you're in a nursery or unless you buy them full-heartedly and they die a couple of weeks later. But you have a lot of opportunities on this trip to sit in a car and travel. And you can think of that negatively as being in a car for hours, or you can take it as a glass half full, right? You get to see these sights and just watch people living their lives, see the animals that live here and how it all works together, because you're not going to be able to come up with solutions that help people unless you do that within the context of where you are. And part of that is just being an active observer. And this is a beautiful place to do that.
And if you were going to speak to somebody who is considering this course, or students who are considering this course, if you could give them one piece of advice and one piece of encouragement, what would those be?
One piece of advice, make sure you pack well. Bring some motion sickness medicine. I told you about the car rides, so make sure you bring that. But speaking more to maybe the academic and educational side, I would advise you to look into more technical terms, especially if you don't know Spanish. Look up keywords, phrases, especially within the context of what you'll be doing in the course. I was a bit ashamed of myself for not knowing more. We luckily had a couple of people on this trip who were able to help us, and I appreciated that, but it did feel like somewhat being a burden to them at times, which isn't what you ever want to be on a trip like this. You want to be in it, you want to be with the program, right? And then a piece of encouragement would be to just take every opportunity that you have, because you never know if you'll be able to do this again. I mean, I got to sit on a school bus with the seats ripped out that was upholstered with like second grade carpet. And I thought to myself, this is a very novel experience that I'm having here, and I'll probably never be here again. So you need to take advantage of those things. Especially for me, this is my second undergraduate degree, and the first time that I went through college, I kept to myself a lot. I didn't go on any study abroad trips. I hardly joined any groups or school activities. And it was something that I really regretted. And you can say that you're focused on your studies. You can say that that's what you're doing. I'm focused, I'm studying. But for me, I think that was a bit of a defense mechanism for getting out there. And I would just say to you, if that's something you're concerned about, really think, are you holding yourself back because you're so focused on your studies and you want to do well? Or you're holding yourself back because you're afraid of getting out there? I know which one it was for me. Make sure you know which one it is for you.
Awesome. And then, is there anything else that you would like to add as far as messages or anything for students or for people who are considering supporting like the site, or anything through funding or anything like that?
Yes, support the site. Give them your resources. Like I said, there's lovely, lovely people who work here and are trying to make a difference in these communities, but it's hard to get the support that you need to do those things. So if you have it and you're thinking about it, then do it and you won't regret it at all. I think